Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED, August the 29th of 2015. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you here. Our last weekend of August. Man, things roll along pretty darn fast. You know, summer's almost over. It's I like that Labor Day weekend off the fall.
I'm always a year older when Labor Day comes around.
Yeah. As I've gotten older, I found out that the fall's a great time to travel. You know, there's not very many people out except people like me who are old. You know, kind of traveling.
And I'll probably be at work. So you send me some photos.
I'll be happy to do that. Well, today here on the Real Estate Show, I look forward to this every year when Kelly Madding, who is the Development Services Director for Jackson County, joins us, and she's here today. And how are you doing, first of all? Nice to have you. How are things down there at the courthouse?
They're busy, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, busy, you say. That's good to hear.
Very busy. A lot busier than it has been, I can tell you. You know, I brought some statistics that I thought I would share with you guys.
Well, okay, before we get to those, hang on a second about that. I want to know what's going on down there in the office. Like,
we want to dig a little deeper than the numbers.
Statistics, we'll get to those. I'm curious as to, you're involved with a lot of other things. I mean, tell people what your job entails, because it's not, I mean, it's more than I think, I wouldn't want to do it, but I couldn't do it because I'm not smart enough to do it.
We might need some overtime. This might be the only question of the day.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make it brief.
Yeah.
So, development services is comprised of planning, building, and code enforcement. So in planning, it's current planning, or if you come in for a building permit, you want to build a house, it's, are you meeting your setbacks, those kinds of things. And then long-range planning, so that was regional problem solving and the delineation of those urban reserves, where cities are going to grow in the future, and maintaining our comprehensive plan. And then there's building, so building inspectors and plans reviewers and those kinds of people, and then code enforcement. So enforcing the land development ordinance and enforcing some of the building code. And so those are the things that are under the umbrella of the Development Services Department.
That's a handful.
That's a brief description. I'll say that.
That's an awful lot of stuff. And the Planning Commission, right, is under, you work with them. I don't know how that works in the structure there, but you work with the Planning Commission. You're kind of their staff person,
We are
right?
their staff, yes.
Yeah, and Brad Bennington, who is the CEO of the Home Builders of Jackson County.
Howdy.
And he is a member of the Jackson County Planning Commission and a member of the Jacksonville City Council. We might throw that in there.
Yep.
But you just said, I know you've been on the Planning Commission now for a year, right? A little over a year.
Yeah, a little over a year, something like that.
Do you like that?
Yeah. I really enjoy participating and helping where I can, getting things moved along. The thing that a lot of people don't understand about the planning department is the tremendous demand from the clock, that little clock face that's spinning. There are a lot of things that they have to do that are prescribed by law, by state law. So one of the things, and I'll just say this, people that develop and build in Jackson County are really, really lucky compared to a lot of other places where they could build, because Kelly really runs a tight ship. They consistently, and they track these metrics, they consistently get their jobs done faster than they are supposed to.
Hey, when you say that, what does that mean? That
it means when you bring a project, a lot of times people just come in, they have a question, could I do this? How does this work, whatnot? Kelly has staff people that handle that. And then once you get to the next phase, when you're actually, it's like, you want to do it, so you've submitted your file and so on. Her people are taking care of these files faster than they're supposed to. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is when you've got hundreds of thousands or sometimes millions of dollars at play, every day is precious. And I'll just tell you, the people in Jackson County are so lucky that they have Kelly and her staff, because they really get on things and move on.
So you say the delays that we hear so much about all the time, you read about, people, delays getting permits, delays in inspections. That's what you do then. So you're saying that's not the case.
Well, we're talking about specifically the county. There are a lot of different jurisdictions. Many of our cities have their own jurisdiction, but I'm just talking about here at the county. We're really fortunate. Oregon's got 36 counties. Now, all 36 counties, our county is right at the top performance-wise. I mean, at the top of everything. So we're really lucky to have the staff that we have. We have business-minded commissioners. It's still, the process is still a pain in the neck. I mean, nobody in their right mind, most people that go through the process of building something never do it again, ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pain where a pill won't reach. But the reason is it's state law. And so a lot of people, again, they don't understand when they come, they start going through this process. It isn't that Kelly and her staff are trying to make their lives miserable. This is all state law. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do such and such and so and so. And they're just basically they're saying, okay, you have to do this, you have to do this, and being as helpful as they can.
Mm-hmm. I'll do it one time, and that's it. You're right. That's too much government. We talk about it all the time, and that's what you see here. What was the biggest in the last year, since you were here last August? What was the biggest issue that you all faced, I suppose, during this past year that took your time, or that you had to, was the biggie?
We had a couple of things. We have an urban growth boundary expansion for Central Point. Actually, we had two of them for Central Point going out to the Tolo area. And, we hadn't done an urban growth boundary expansion in a long time. In fact, we had never done one in my career since I've been there. And so that was a process, and it actually went very smoothly. The Planning Commission met jointly with the City of Central Point's Planning Commission, which we hadn't done before we hadn't done in a long time.
Makes sense, yeah.
And that process was very, very smooth, very good. And I think the other thing that's been challenging is that we've had...
Sure.
You didn't think that was smooth? I thought it was really smooth.
That was
smooth.
The other challenge. The other challenge.
Oh, the other challenge. Well,
that was a toking sound.
Oh, that was a toking sound. Two others then, I would say. One is things have gotten busier, so we've been looking at increasing staffing levels.
Okay.
And so we're going to be going out and seeking additional staff. And then, like Brad was alluding to, that sound, which I haven't heard. Maybe I've never heard that sound, is marijuana.
Well, we've talked about
it. You did grow up in Klamath Falls.
Yeah.
Like three of us did.
We've talked about it, Kelly, on our show a lot since it was passed, and it is certainly affecting real estate. And as we see here, not so much in other states, but certainly in Oregon. So what would it do with you, though? I'm curious as to what it does there.
Well, the state law has allowed local jurisdictions like the county to regulate basically growing, processing, and selling both medical marijuana and recreational marijuana.
Right.
So we're going to be tasked with land use laws around those things. And that's where sort of the rubber hits the road.
Land use laws around those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. You got to give me a little more on that.
Okay.
What is?
Proximity
are you
to
talking
schools,
about
proximity to parks?
Is that what you're talking about?
Somewhat.
Where you can grow, where you'll be able to.
Are you talking about a person who has 4 plants?
No, we're not talking about personal.
Okay, you're talking about large commercial kind of operations.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That are going to be licensed by the Oregon Liquor Control Commission or licensed by the Oregon Health Authority. So, and there are lots of people interested in Jackson County on both sides.
We know that.
To see where those regulations are going to go. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of waiting to see what the Oregon Liquor Control Commission is going to come up with in terms of their rules. We'd like to have those rules before we start putting forward our regulation, or at least start the process of adopting regulation. That's going to be a tough one because everything is happening very, very quickly, and the Oregon Liquor Control Commission is having to do a lot in a short period of time. They're supposed to have their rules done and be able to accept applications by, I think, the 4th of January. And so I don't know where that's going to go exactly. And so we're kind of waiting to see, but also starting to think about regulation and hearing from a lot of people, both who support or in support of the marijuana industry, and those who feel like they're negatively affected by it.
We've had the state water master in here talking about trying to regulate disputes, people taking water, illegally for grows for whatever. Remember, and these kinds of things that are going on out there. So it sounds like okay. What?
We just spent the entire last hour of the Jackson County Close-Up program on RVTV discussing these issues, discussing marijuana, and it's on the county website, jacksoncounty.org, on the video archives there. It'd be an informative hour for people to check out because we cover land use, the sheriff, and Commissioner Brydenthal, all phases.
From what I'm hearing today, it sure sounds like Kelly and the Community Development Services Department is going to be in charge of the enforcement and code enforcement of these laws. Or the rules? Is that right?
For the land use piece.
Because the sheriff didn't want to do it, by the way. We had him in here in July, and I kept saying, in the end, Sheriff, you're going to have to be the guy, but you're going to start with it. It's going to be in your lap.
Some of it is. I mean, and I think it's also going to be in OLCC's lap, and I think it'll be in the sheriff's lap. But
the
some
board,
of it, but some of it will be in our lap from a land use perspective, certainly.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be really interesting. It changes so much. I mean, we talk about rural properties and the demand that we're seeing in them. They are the highest price median, as rural properties. Their demand coming from everywhere. So we haven't seen the end of that, have we? I mean, it's just amazing.
I think we haven't even rustled the leaves yet of to what's coming and what's finally going to come down once everything's in place and people know what the level playing ground is and what the rules are.
Well, I thought that, of course, you're talking about commercial large grows like what you're talking about, but I thought the sheriff was right when he said that before we start making all these laws and all these rules, let's wait a year and see what happens before we see if we get complaints, if we see if this is a problem, if we see it before we just go out and just you can't do this, you can't do this, and because people then you got to go out and enforce that, and it's stupid sometimes.
Right, but the difficulty is it's difficult to wait because the state is moving forward with their permitting, and so there are people that want certainty, and that certainty not only rests with the state with licensing, but it also rests with us with land use. Okay, where can you do marijuana processing? Where can you do commercial growing?
All right.
Where can you do sales?
Where can you do sales? And so all those things have to be kind of fleshed out.
Brad, what do you think of that? You're going to have to vote on this eventually. It sounds like what.
Yeah, we've already had a few
votes. What do you think of
votes.
all this?
Right. Yeah. So what Kelly was talking about is the fact that she was already plenty busy before this landed on her desk. Wasn't like she was looking for something to do. And it's like bam. So all this lands on her desk, but. Yeah, what the legislature just finished their 2015 session. Out of that, there was an awful lot of time spent, and there was some rules and guidelines that came out of that for the different jurisdictions, keeping in mind that this is still illegal federally, guys. Right?
Yeah.
The federal government has there's only Oregon, Washington, and Colorado, the only 3 states you can legally do this. So at the county level, at the city level, all the municipalities are struggling with this. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's Medford, Klamath, Gold Hill, Port. Doesn't matter. They're all wrestling with it. Jacksonville City Council, we wisely decided not to do anything.
So we decided to wait.
Yeah, we looked at everything. And we said, you know what, we're going to let this. There's all these cities in Oregon that are working on this. Let's let the dust settle a little bit and see what happens. But from where we are, I mean, the main thing that we're talking about is the impact that it's having on real estate, which is what's interesting to us. And what it has caused is you got all this out-of-state money coming in, and they only want to know 2 things: how many acres and how much water does it have on. That's, because writing the check is not a problem for them.
Some are big enough they don't even need the water; they'll truck it in.
Yeah. And then
really,
and then the regulation, within the cities, basically what you can regulate are time, place, and manner. So that's what the discussion is where can you do it, when can you do it, and in what manner, so that it doesn't negatively impact your neighbor. And my guess is we're going to be talking about this for a while.
Oh, I think so, and I know certainly in commercial real estate, if certain brokers, that Joe that we know. They didn't even want to talk to anybody about. I mean, the telephone calls were intense for months. Of people calling, wanting warehouse space, wanting storefront space, and to the point where it was driving brokers crazy. I mean, there simply was not. There was no space, and landlords quickly decided in leases that they can control who goes on their properties, and they simply didn't want marijuana stores on them, and so. You're right. It's not over. The whole rental market, the whole rental issue with this is something as well. So the difference that we talk about in Oregon is that Oregon is the only state of the 4, Alaska also, but Oregon is the only state that allows an individual to grow on your property, and that's the big difference. At Colorado, they have just nothing but large commercial grows. That's what Colorado has done. So Oregon we're kind of in that. In that middle, I guess, is what it is. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
We're doing it our way.
Right? What else, Kelly, this last year that you guys worked on that you want to share with people? Because, gosh, I mean, that's a lot of stuff. Tell me, when we first talked to you, you didn't have much building going on? Tell me where that is the case today. Because, okay? Yeah.
So, I'm sure your listeners are all tuned in to the market and understand, but the peak for us was about 2004, 2005 in terms of building permits. But just looking back in the last 10 years, of that 10-year peak, it's 2005, 2006, of course. And the low for us was 2010, 2011. I think
that was the low.
Right. And I think I came to you that year and said, I'm just waiting to know when the low is, because it's better for us to have hit bottom and know that that's bottom. So at least I think we'll start moving up, or at least know where the bottom is, because for a while we didn't know.
We kept looking for it for 2 years.
How many permits back then did you issue? Because there was certainly not much going on, but you're going to have to check that out. You can look that up while we take a break here. Come on the Real Estate Show. We're with Kelly Matting and Brad Bennington here on the Real Estate Show for August the 29th. Remember, you can watch our shows on YouTube or at realestateshoworegon.com. Lots going on, lots of good information, and we are coming right back after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED for August the 29th of 2015. Pete and Joe, the real estate guys, with you. You know, we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of things related to real estate going on in Jackson and Josephine County. There's a lot going on, a lot of sales. You know, the statistics, Joe, continue to show it is a seller's market. The inventory is at just 2.3 months. So this is a supply and demand business, isn't it? I mean, when there's supply, it's one thing, and when there's demand, it's another, and the market changes accordingly. It's amazing how that works.
Just on the listings we're working with, it's the buyers have kind of slowed up a little bit. I don't know if it's price points or if it's that close to school, and
I think it's lots of combinations of those things.
I'm ready for something. I'm ready for a new influx of buyers.
Smoke, it's just kind of all sorts of things you can point to.
And it's interesting.
It doesn't really matter. It's still a very robust thing, and there's a lot of people, looking, because the key box information from MLS every week is continuing to show a lot of people looking. They may not be finding what they're looking because the inventory is low, but they're definitely looking. And when you have a situation like this, the sellers are getting most of their asking price. So, it's really, that's how the old market conditions work. Anyway, today here on the Real Estate Show, Kelly Matting, who's the Development Services Coordinator for Jackson County, is with us, along with Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County.
Kelly is the Development Services Director for Jackson County, not the coordinator, not the planning services, customer relations.
You people are really nitpicky about that, aren't you?
We're giving you 7 years to learn Kelly's title.
That's okay. It's a long title. I get it.
I'm old school. They were the
planning directors.
When
you were news director.
I know. That's what we called them.
That's what you are.
That's right. Well, that is what I am actually too.
See, too. The code enforcement part of that job, I would not. That would be the
that's
one.
Like property management.
It's exactly what that is. That would be like.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it would be. Anyway, okay. Before we took the break. So share some of those stats. You said 2009, 10 was the low point here. We remember that because you were lonely. I remember saying in your office, you're like the only one in there. So what do you got? So tell us what's going on then with that.
So, we had that low in 2010, 2011. And that year, we issued 86 single-family residence building permits.
86?
86 only. Compare that to 2005, 2006, where we issued 581.
Oh, my goodness. That is a big difference. Okay.
Huge difference.
Jeez.
And so, and that 500 some odd permits that we issued had kind of been steady up until probably since 2000. 2000 to 2005, 2006 or so. And then we, saw this extreme drop-off. Now things are picking back up. Oh, so let me say this also. So in 2010, 2011, when that low was, the value of those 86 building permits was about $28 million.
Okay.
In 2005, 2006, 581 permits was valued at about $91 million. So significant reduction. We're seeing things pick up, as you keep alluding to in all your statistics that you're saying. Last year, 2014, 2015, we issued 225 single-family residence building permits.
So about half of what you've come back about halfway in that part.
Yes.
Well, so remember we were talking, Shelley Culbertson and Joe, over those years, we weren't building any housing. Remember, we weren't building any housing, and everybody kept saying, it's going to come back and haunt us 5 years down the road, and we're at that point.
And we have a 0.8
2011
rental vacancy rate.
Yeah, and there's nothing going on there.
Right.
So that's interesting out of the deal there. All right, so Brad, halfway back for the home builders. I mean, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
It's not what it was, though. There's no question about that.
Well, I mean, it's glass half empty, half full. The good news is people love Southern Oregon, and they're getting here as fast as they can. Mm-hmm. Our typical customer is our one of our friends relocating from California. Typically, they're retiring, so they're selling a piece of property that they have in California. They're putting a nice chunk of change in their pocket. They're coming up here, and they're usually paying cash.
So you're seeing. Okay, so just a minute. So you're seeing. The California market coming up here, the retired market is building. You're seeing a significant
biggest part of our market.
The biggest chunk of that. That's interesting. Okay.
Biggest part of the single family residential market. So the thing is that when part of what collapsed our market was the Californians quit coming, and the Californians quit coming because they couldn't sell their property for what they wanted to sell it for, so they quit coming, which meant we had to quit building, and then the fly went into the windshield and all the rest of it.
Called domino effect, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Well, and we have, when we were young guys, Oregon was a resource-based economy, and that went away in the mid '80s.
Yeah.
And now we have a service-based economy, and a service-based economy is entirely based on the existence of wealthy people and their willingness to spend money with people to sell them services. So that's the kind of economy that we have now. So. And God bless them, they buy homes and all this cool stuff that we can sell, which is really great. So going back to, I'm just looking at the Medford city of Medford is probably the largest market for single family dwellings, and then Kelly gave you a good feeling for what's going on in the county. Sure. So going back to 2011, we're just talking single family residences, right? 2010, 114, 2011, 101, 2012, 105 permits issued for single-family dwellings, right?
For new homes.
For new homes. Then we've got 2012, 209, 2013, 267, and then the July 2014 to July 2015, 246.
Wow.
Now, so what does that mean? Here's what that means. 246 worth an estimated value of $60 million.
Okay.
Right? In one calendar year. Here's what's really great about that. New home construction is the only industry there is that has a positive ripple effect of 5-to-1 in the community. So that $60 million is really a $300 million positive financial impact on our community. Yeah. So you take that and you marry it up with the number that Kelly was talking about, which is roughly double. So that's a huge impact on our community, which we all benefit from. It's taking a piece of unimproved land and creating housing on it that creates the tax base that pays for all the services that we all like to have. Police, firemen, libraries, all the cool, good stuff that schools, all the good stuff that we like to have. That's the value base that creates that, which is another reason why planning is so important. If you didn't have planning, if you just had people going out there and building and doing whatever the heck they wanted to do, you wouldn't have uniform property values, would you?
No, it would really be hard. Yes, it would be a mess.
Well, you just wouldn't have it. So it's the creation. It is the creation of and the monitoring of and the enforcement of these standards that keep our property values consistent and rising. And we need it. I mean, people don't realize how really critically important a good planning department is, and we're lucky we've got a good one.
Well, good things to hear.
And Kelly, even today in the Planning Commission meeting, she's talking about things at the statewide level, how they're applying locally to the regional problem-solving process, and all of these individual cities that now have to come to the county with their UGB expansions. And you've got to be able to be the governing body that checks off on those and may have to defend those someday. So her role goes far beyond just issuing those permits, the code enforcement, and those day-to-day operations. She's really got to have a handle on the big picture, and especially at the county level, I think that really filters down to everybody from there.
And with an onslaught coming, it sounds like, of new construction. Look at this, 500 new units you two just mentioned in the county and in the city of Medford. Huge demand is look at the demand for that. I mean, think of that and just what we're seeing. So
people want to live in Southern Oregon.
Well, my question is, so as you do this, you've got you bring land in. That's always an issue. That's still out there, isn't it? That's not going to go away. Imagine if we didn't have our land use laws. I know people argue vehemently one way or another, but think about it, with the onslaught coming here in Jackson County, if we didn't have this in place, we would really be a mess. So, good luck to you on that, Kelly, because you got to enforce
Big
that.
process.
And that's and you've gone through it, and you seem to have done a pretty good job with it. I mean, Jackson County, get ready for it. I didn't believe the statistics, people saying to us, we're going to double in population. Remember back in how many years ago? And, I'm having to change my thinking on that because, those projections coming here. People want to live here. Everybody comes in this show, especially agents, people who deal with the public. People want to come here. You say that all the time, Brad.
Only because it's true.
Come here.
Only because it's true.
It's true.
Only because we've been everywhere else and know what's out there.
Right. We know this is one of the best places.
Yeah. Some of us didn't wander very far from the nest.
Kelly and Brad just have to keep it that way for us.
Yeah.
That's all we ask.
The Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED with Kelly Madding and Brad Bennington. Don't forget, you can watch our shows at YouTube or realestateshoworegon.com. And we are coming right back right after this. Real Estate Show continues on KMED, August the 29th of 2015. Pete Belcaster, Joe Brett with you here this weekend, and hope you're making a good weekend. Want to invite, by the way, our listeners down to the Medford Elks Lodge building Sunday, 1 to 4. We're going to have it open so people... I'm amazed how many people have never been in that old building downtown, and so we're trying to sell it for the Elks and trying to save that historic structure. That's a whole... We should do a show just on historic preservation of buildings because that's a whole interesting topic, I'll tell you. Anyway, it's open from 1 to 4 on Sunday. You're welcome to come down there and take a look through it if you've never been through the Medford Elks building. Hopefully someone's going to come along and save that building for our community. We hope anyway. Today we're with Kelly Madding, the Development Services Director for Jackson County, and Brad Bennington, the CEO of the Home Builders Association of Jackson County as well here on the show. End of summer. Brad, this segment goes by so fast, I know, but your builders have been extremely busy. They've had a good year, haven't they?
Oh, my howdy.
And it's so good to see, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Well, we've got demand. We've talked about this before. Yeah. We've got an awful lot of demand out there, but we only have 40% of the skilled workforce now that we had 10 years ago.
That's right. I know.
So we've got 40% of the guys, just pedaling that bicycle as fast as they can, to create the, to get these houses done. And I'll tell you, they're doing a great job, but they're working like little bunny rabbits out there.
And it's going to continue for a while and that kind of thing. Kelly, tell me about remodeling. You issue permits for remodeling too, right out of the county, right?
Yes,
you have to do that.
We do. Mm-hmm.
And do you issue a lot of them? Should people get permits? Because I tell you, I go into houses when we go on tours, and many people will say, that's not permitted, or this isn't there, this wasn't there. How should a person do that?
We do issue permits for remodeling, and in fact, it's interesting because when the market kind of tanked for new home construction, what happened was people started remodeling the homes that they lived in. Just like people didn't sell their cars necessarily, they just got their cars repaired. So
contractors became remodelers during that time too.
Right.
Like Brad's saying.
Absolutely. And so if you are getting your house remodeled or you're considering remodeling, talk to your contractor. You do, depending on what you're getting remodeled or what the work is, you may in fact need a permit, a building permit. You may need an electrical permit, or you may need a plumbing permit. And I would strongly encourage people to get those permits for a couple of reasons. One is from a financing or refinancing or selling your home perspective, you want to have your improvements permitted because that's important in terms of for lenders.
You betcha.
It's also just kind of a peace of mind thing. It's not to say that the contractors aren't doing a good job. They are, I think, but it's good to have some checks and balances, and that's what we provide, those checks and balances. And things like, I was talking to the building official, and he was saying, it's even things like comfort. For example, someone may be putting in a heating and air conditioning system, and that electrical circuit may be undersized for that heating and air conditioning system. Now, the heating and air conditioning system will continue to work, but it may not work as effectively and it may not last as long. So it's just those checks and balances. And so there are lots and lots of good reasons to get your remodeling permitted. And like I said, I highly encourage people to get those permits for remodeling and for new construction, because believe it or not, we've actually had houses built in Jackson County without a building permit.
Really?
And, no one wants to end up on the code enforcement side. We don't want to see people end up on the code enforcement side in the department either.
No.
Because that ends up costing people a lot more money than if they had just come in and got the permits up front.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what the coming next 12 months, what do you think the biggest challenge, biggest issue that you're going to be facing is going to be?
I think workload is still going to rise, I think, and we're adding some staff to deal with that, and I think that's appropriate. I think we're also going to see the city of Medford urban growth boundary expansion coming forward to Jackson County, and while we did an urban growth boundary expansion with Central Point, which was very small and sort of laser-like in terms of the property, this is much bigger, much more complicated, and probably more controversial. So I think that is going to be another project that's going to take a considerable amount of our time.
That's right. And Brad gets to hear those. Aren't you looking forward to that?
Yes, I am. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Right.
We're gonna have so much fun with that. I can't believe it.
Well, it's interesting work. I admire you for being so diligent with it, and year after year you continue to do that, Kelly. So, gosh, that's amazing. So, good luck with that. Tell me about the home builders. You got your tour. So, tell us what status that is, and what's the latest on that.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is a Southern Oregon tour of homes. A tour of homes is basically it's an open house on steroids. It's a scattered site tour. It's going to be October 16th through 18th and 23rd through 25th.
For 2 weeks, two weekends in October.
It's two weekends, yeah, and it's really it's everything that you'd ever want to know about the house. It's the builder, it's the site, it's the subs, it's the materials, it's the systems. Our sponsor is Technology Associates, and Technology Associates is an amazing company. They can take you and they can show you how to run your whole house off your smartphone, believe it or not. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what you can do with this new technology. So they're our prime presenting sponsor. But you're going to be able to just turn these homes upside down, inside out, floor plan, everything. We're going to have it online. We're going to have maps. You can come by our office and pick up materials. But it's a builder-centric event. We're co-producing it with Central Oregon Builders Association. They've done this for 27 years, and their community just loves it, and our community is going to love it too.
They've been doing this a long time, you say, and
27 years.
27 years.
27 years.
And, and it's free, right?
Free to the public.
Can go to. So, are you going to publish the homes,
yes,
or so anybody can go into them for those weekends and look at them?
Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna have resource materials online, in the newspaper, TV ads, radio, helium-filled balloons, you name it. We're gonna do it up big. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's really showcasing what new construction can be.
The biggest, most important investment most people will ever make is their home.
Absolutely.
And that's never been more true than now. And you've heard me say this before, but I still believe it's true. Some of the best values in home construction right now are the brand new homes that we are building right now.
Yeah.
Because we're at this really interesting point in history when our building systems are really so sophisticated. The homes that people are buying today, the homes that we're building today, are the finest homes that have ever been built. They really are.
No, I agree with you. I've just sold one up in Vista Point, and new construction, people who want those, that's exactly right.
They're stronger, they're more comfortable, they're quieter, they're better,
cheaper to operate, et
cheaper to operate. They last longer. They're more maintenance free. New home construction today really is one of the best values to put your money in.
All right. Well, that's the time we got to go. Kelly, Maddie, nice to visit with you.
Thank you.
Down there at the Jackson County Community Development Services Department. Close enough anyway.
Development
we wish
Services.
You well in your bid.
She's doing a great job.
Nice to see you as well. See you as soon as we'll be back before the end of before the big show in October.
Oh my!
Back with Pat. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show. Have a great week, everybody, and God bless.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshoworegon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Oregon's one and only Real Estate Show on KMED.